Good evening, everyone. We welcome you all to today's session on internal audit's role in strengthening ESG compliance. First of all, I would like to thank Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting of ICAI for organizing such webinars, especially when it's festival times and we still have faculties like Harsha ma'am who is here to give us insights on this amazing topic of ESG compliance, which is gaining a lot of interest nowadays. So, with this note, I would like to introduce our faculty for today. Harsha ma'am. Harsha Ramnani is a fellow member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. She has completed her diploma in Information Systems Audit and completed her graduation from Kanoria Girls College, Jaipur, where she was number one ranked. She also is a registered valuer for securities and financial asset class. Have completed a certification course in forensic accounting and fraud detection, internal audit, concurrent audit of banks, Ind AS, business responsibility and sustainability reporting, and public finance, government accounting by ICAI. It is great to know that ma'am has cleared the social auditor exam and was ranked the first amongst in Rajasthan in India and top 10 in India. Over past 15 years of post qualification, she has front to end experience and exposure as an auditing expert in various industries, including textile, real estate, automobile components, shipping, healthcare, banking, FMC, telecom, education, and power sector industries. Her areas of expertise include statutory audits, management and internal audits, operations audit, performance audit, valuations, advisory, due diligence, ESG reporting, assurance, and consultancy on protective trade and service laws, including India's IFRS conversions of corporate and non-corporate entities. She was a facilitator of World Bank funded project for implementation of online audit management system for local fund audits of Rajasthan government. She has been instrumental in presentation and preparation of background material for public sector undertakings, listed entities, and large private companies to aid them in smooth implementation in areas pertaining to India's internal controls, SOP, ESG project implementations, enterprise risk management, etc. She has been an author of two technical guides, technical guide on how to perform an internal audit in textile industry and technical guide on Rajasthan VAT, published by respective committees of ICAI. She has also authored the background material of ESG and business responsibility and sustainability reporting, which was published by SRSB ICAI. Regular faculty for registered valuation, BRSR course, management accounting, and social audit course. She has exposure in countries uh, where she has been into investigating authorities who have basically have exposure in countries like US, Turkey, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Pakistan, Oman, and China. With this note, I would like to request ma'am to start today's session. Over to you, Harsha ma'am. And thank you so much for taking today's session.
Thank you so much, Shina, for such a nice introduction. And welcome to all the. Yeah, Rishuma, you want to add?
No. I think this is a very good introduction, and we welcome you to take. Looking forward to hear more about the topic, and we will, at the towards the last of the session, we will talk about the queries. So participants are advised to take the note of their queries, and at the end, all of your queries would be answered.
So, as I was mentioning, and Hina also mentioned that today, we are in the festive season, and in the festive season, we all are here to understand the subject, to learn something very new. So, sustainability, which is kind of very topic which is near to my heart, and as I have seen in the fraternity now, like people want to understand more and more about the topic, what exactly it is, and how being a chartered accountant we have a more opportunities in this area. When it's come to the internal audit very specifically, because today here we are for the internal audit purpose or internal controls. So I see personally there are, much more responsibility on internal auditors when it's come to ESG reporting or ESG compliance part. Because internal audit is something, or internal auditors are the people who closely work with companies management. And when you are closely working with companies management, then somewhere you are taking responsibility on behalf of company management, that we will make sure that company is, some making all the compliances which is required by laws and regulations, and whatever is coming in, future, we are ready for that. And when it's come to controls, so control is not something like where everything can be quantified. It is something to work in a smooth manner. So in today's session, first of all, we'll first understand what exactly is ESG and how it is linked with internal audit function. And then we see that how as an internal auditor, we can, in a different capacity, in different roles, can serve to the company or an industry, and what exactly is waiting for all of us when it's come to the sustainability area or a ESG area as an internal auditor. Okay. So just give me thumbs up or yes, no, Hina, if you can, like my screen is visible clearly. I
Yes.
make it now is on full screen mode.
Yeah, it's full screen.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So internal audit's role in strengthening ESG compliance. As I mentioned, ESG compliance on a regular basis, day-to-day basis, now being increasing. Whenever new budget is coming, we have a lot about ESG. Whenever anything is happening, we have a lot about ESG. Now every conference, every workshop, every international seminar or something like that, whatever you attend, even on ICAI platform, other than ICAI platform, ESG or sustainability is something, a subject which is you will see as a prominent subject. Like there are many international conferences which is prominently based on subject which is on ESG or sustainability. If it is not prominently, then some part of section or a conference you will find it as on a based on ESG subject. This particular ESG compliance has changed a lot about all practices that we do, because I always mention for chartered accountants, like being a chartered accountant, earlier we were having a complete financial domain where we were doing accounting, compliances, filing, then auditing. In auditing, we were doing internal audit, statutory audit, management audits, and a lot performance audit, etc., etc. Now we have a complete section of non-financial audits or non-financial reporting. When it's come to non-financial reporting, in non-financial reporting, the similar aspect now are waiting for all of us, where you need to make first of all accounting. It's not a normal accounting, it's about carbon accounting, because here environmental aspect, carbon emission is the major aspect, where we need to make an inventory of carbon emission, carbon accounting. Then second comes as a compliance. So there are multiple compliances that comes under the sustainability area. Then when it's come to filing, so there are multiple filings that now companies or industries need to make when it's come in a ESG domain. And last, about audits. So statutory audit or external audit, if I say, it has been started by this financial year, 23-24, top 150 company. You can see BRSR code, mandatory external assurance. Next year, it will be for 250, then 500, and by 26-27, it will be for 1000. And for that external assurance, internal audit is always must. How external assurance will be able to give a clean report when you or me, being the external assurance, has comfort, like internal controls are working fine, are adequate as per company size. Okay. If my controls are not working fine, or they are not adequate, or it is not in operation, will you be able to give clean opinion? Answer is no. So if your company wants a clean opinion on any kind of external audit, internal audit is must. And when the internal audit has been introduced by government, by SEBI, then internal audit rules come in a picture. That is the reason this particular topic is most important for us, because by financial year 23-24, external audit for listed company has been started in a phase manner, 150, then 250, 500 and 1000. And gradually in next 10 years, it will be applicable on all listed company. Okay. So it's a festival season. Tomorrow it's Diwali. We are celebrating it's tomorrow. Office probably we are going to have puja on 1st of November. Again, when it's come to festivals, lots of sustainability, green, Diwali and everything comes, probably you find it. So what exactly is green Diwali? Does it mean that we should not burn the crackers or something? Because I personally like it very much. I find it without crackers, my Diwali is incomplete. So it's not like that. Sustainability doesn't mean that you leave your tradition apart or something, you change your traditions. It's me, just go back to the previous era, because our previous era was something which was near to the nature, which was preserving our nature in a same situation. So like traditional Diwali lights was the diyas, which was made by clays, which is very easily recyclable. If you lighten up your house with plastic that lights or something, light which is we use electricity, and then it is made by plastic, then it is not recyclable. You are using electricity, so it make a part of carbon emission. But if you use diyas, so it is completely recyclable. You are using oil to burn it, so that is again not harmful for the environment. Rather than, we all know the benefits of every evening to have diya batti at home, that what are the benefits of that. Similarly, we always make a rangoli at our home. So earlier the rangolis were made in form of mandalas and everything, and we all know the benefits of that mandalas and everything, why it was made. These days now the format has been changed. There are various colors, so that colors are not naturals. That colors are having chemicals, that colors are having lots of hazardous material. So rather than just go back, earlier the mandalas and everything that we were making during the Diwali times, that we should opt in. Recycled decorations. So we always do Diwali cleaning at home. And every time when the Diwali cleaning, so in my childhood, what I remember, like we used to make lots of things from old material. We used to create new things like इससे क्या बन सकता है, इससे अच्छा हो सकता है, and that we use in Diwali. So again, that circular economy. And sustainability, most important term is circular economy. How to use old material in a new format. So that thing we can use. Meet and greet family, leave WhatsApp crowd. So that is most important. Why festivals we celebrate? To make ourselves happy, to make family and friends happy. By sharing greetings through WhatsApp, it's not going to make you happy or family happy, rather than meeting it personal. Using technology for the purpose of learning and everything, right now like we are using, and just before Diwali we are able to learn something new, that is completely fine. But for the purpose of festivals where a personal meetings can have a different touch, it's not something we should exchange with WhatsApp greeting or something like that. And it's something, a time where we should celebrate it, we should spend some time to relax. So if ask about sustainability, to understand the sustainability, this is about sustainability in terms of festival, which I understand. Whenever it comes to anything green, it doesn't mean that you leave your tradition, behind. Just think about the previous era, how our, previous generation was spending time with family, how they were celebrating without harming environment, without harming social life, without harming other aspects. Then we understand that what currently we are doing wrong. So in next 1.5 hours precisely. We are going to first understand what exactly is ESG, although some part we have already discussed, so that I will keep aside and just will give you a small insight about environmental, social, and governance aspect. Then we discuss the key consideration like building an ESG strategy, why it is important. We also discuss few examples as well, which will help you to understand that how exactly the companies are making ESG as a strategy for their business development, for their marketing, because it is kind of a tool as well, which makes your company different from others. Then internal audit role in ESG reporting, why it is important, how as an internal auditor we can add value through assurance and advice, role of internal audits, and at last we see what are the takeaways from the session. So when it's come to embarking on the ESG journey, in an overall objective, if I talk about ESG, it's environmental, social, and governance. By term, I think we understand what it does mean. Rather than saying it environmental, social, and governance, always keep in mind GES, because when the governance is first in every company, you can always achieve the environmental aspect and social aspect. Tone at the top should be on a right mode. If my top management is on a right note, if my top management understand why environment aspects are important, why social aspects are important, then you can always achieve your environmental targets and your social targets. Importance, the broad risk categories is always dynamic and drive by different factors. It depends on industry. Like for manufacturing industry, environmental aspects are always important one, because they are a part of more carbon emission because of their manufacturing facilities, their plants and everything. For service industry, environmental aspect is nothing. For bank, do you consider that their carbon emission is more harmful? Whatever the laptops, electricity they are using in their premises, they should stop using that. Not possible. If a bank will stop using laptops, if a bank will stop using tube lights or air conditioner, how they will work? For them, their people are important, right? So for banks or for any industry, service industry, their people part is most important. So it depends on the industry, it depends on the company, which particular aspect is going to be an important one in their ESG journey. And accordingly, we find out the risk category. In internal audit, I think the participants who are attending this webinar understand now we are in an era where risk-based internal audit is on a front seat, where we do the internal audit for the areas which are more risk prone. And we do, we do the risk rating, risk mapping for the areas. So in ESG aspect as well, we do the risk rating. We identify which particular area is important, which particular area is uh, specifically risk prone for the industry or the company, and accordingly make a ESG journey for a company. When it's come to the purpose, why it is important. So ESG reporting as on date, if I talk about, it is very common. It is very important one, because for top 1,000 listed company, it is the mandatory requirement. As you know, similar to the financial reporting, like balance sheet is important for us to prepare and to have get audited. So in similar manner, ESG report is also required, and to get it with assurance needs to be done by the assurance provider. So for top 1,000 listed company, it is the regulatory requirement. Other than top 1,000 listed company or who are not listed, why it is important? So ESG is not an Indian topic, or it is not a for particular country specific requirement. It is a problem statement. As an internal auditor, first we need to identify what is the problem statement. So ESG is a problem where the change in an environment, where the less empathy for the social aspect, is something that we need to address. We all understand what is happening all around. So the change in environment we all are experiencing. I think everyone has experienced in last 7 to 8 months when it was the time of summers. So the summer was on their peak. When it was the time of rainy season, so the rain was on peak. We have not experienced that kind of the rain. The earthquake, probably I have not experienced in my lifetime in past, but last year we experienced a kind of uh, the shaking moment and at the night. I will not say at night. It was the morning 4 a.m. and it was like कोई ट्रक आके घर को बिल्कुल हिला दिया हो, and we all were just woke up in a kind of very, it was not a good experience. We all were out of home and it was just for the 5 minutes. And after that, it was everything fine, but it was difficult to sleep. So these changes in environment is not good sign for us. And it is not only for a particular area. If you ask me that it is only for my city, I belongs to Jaipur. So it's not for my city. Everyone from every area or every city has experienced the same. And the similar aspect for other countries as well. If you have seen on LinkedIn, there are multiple cities in different countries who have seen a drastic change of environment, drastic change of climate change. So this is one of the reasons that ESG is the most prominent problem statement for every country. And every country is working for the ESG reporting and ESG implementation strategy on a front foot. Like everything side apart, ESG is the most important topic these days. So now every country has a different rules. For example, if I talk about European countries, now European countries are having their own ESG criteria, and from 1st October 2023, they have made their CBAM compliance mandatory for the exporters from any globally, from any of country. If they are exporting steel, cement, fertilizer, aluminium, or the similar product to their country, they need to file CBAM returns before exporting the goods. As a India, if you ask me, we were exporting steel in heavy quantity to European countries. And whether you are a private limited company, you are a partnership firm, you are a proprietorship firm, or any other form of company, or any other form of entity, now it is mandatory for you to file CBAM return first. After that only you will be able to export your container. So this is how my reporting is being changing, and this is the reason it is being important for us to know. At present, people are not able to understand the requirement. And we, being a chartered accountant who understand all these financial terminology as well as the business requirements, can be a good support system for the companies who can make them understand what exactly is the needed and how strategically we can make a system of internal controls as well as a system of finance and the value creation for the company. Because ultimately, for European countries, now we need to pay a carbon tax, right? As an internal auditor, as I mentioned, it always play a significant role. We always being considered advisors, or you can say a consultant, who are expected to add value in advisory capacity. Although somewhere it is a mandatory requirement, but we are being considered that we should add always something in terms of advisory capacity. So it is always an expectation from internal auditor. I am also internal auditor for few of listed companies, and I know the pressure. Like every quarter when your team has been deployed at a client place, you always think about like at least 3 or 4 points you should have in your hand, where it should be something like this was not was in line place, and here we have been added value by making your team understand that this is how you need to work, or by adding any specific control, or by any modification in control, or by any other mechanism. So we always have pressure in every quarter. So this is something place where the trust we have always been placed, and accordingly we play our role. Critical assurance support is being always expected from us, which is, which should be independent, and objective review should be there, so that effective ESG risk assessment response controls we can see. Additionally, if you ask me, internal audit function operates conformance with IAA Global. So as an internal auditor, two things we keep in our mind. One is standards of internal audits issued by ICAI, because that is the mandatory requirement for us to follow. Like similar for a statutory audit, we follow standards of auditing. For internal audit, we have a separate set of standards that we need to follow. Alternatively, we also keep in mind the IIA globally recognized standards, because wherever you are working with MNCs, they want you to keep your reports in an MNC standard, global standards. So IIA is something where internal control frameworks and ESG efforts are being prominently talked about or discussed about. And internal audit is a function where providing assurance or advice or aspect of the ESG risk management is now being added as an additional responsibility. So earlier, if you ask me, our responsibility was only limited to financial and operational risk controls. Like in statutory audit also, statutory auditor needs to give report for IC OFR, internal controls for operational and financial controls. Now we have another new term, ICNFR, internal controls for non-financial reporting as well, where you talk about what are the controls for non-financial reporting aspect. And when it's come to the non-financial reporting aspect, it means environmental, social, and governance. So this is the overall purpose of this ESG requirement. I hope ESG now we have been discussed in length, so I'm not going to discuss this slide in detail. Like environmental, so it includes your carbon emission, waste management, water management, raw material sourcing, climate change vulnerabilities. When it's come to the social, so it includes your people management very specifically, which includes your employees, customers, and greater community, including your value chain partners and other people who are connected to your company. And when it's come to the governance, so I think it's not a new term. It was a term which was earlier also being friendly to us. So it's about talking about business ethics, leadership, executive pays, audit, controls, then shareholders' right. And that was the reason I mentioned like it should be GES, because when the right governance is there, your environmental and social aspect is always being taken care. So if one example you want to refer, so after I think this webinar, you can also see few reports. If during this festival season, you want to spend some time with some annual reports. Tomorrow is a Diwali and few Diwali trading also we need to do. So to this aspect also you can consider for your Diwali pick. So ITC just I have taken here as example. Sorry, TCS I have taken here as example. For Tata companies, they were also known always as a company who were very good with their people. You know, every time I think I'm not sure whether you probably you will agree with me. If any of your relative or your friend is getting job in Tata company, what generally we given as advice, join the company. They are very good with their employees. They always treat their employees as a people. They always treat their employees as a good human being. So that is something we always being heard. I have personally not worked with a company, but what I have seen from outside or what I have heard about the values and ethics for their people, this was something we have seen. For environmental practice, because company is having different branches, a kind of structure. If you see a Tata, they are having every industry, branch in every industry. It's something very important to them to understand. So I have taken here example of Tata Consultancy Services, where the social aspect is being always taken care, because Tata known for their social aspect, for their people strategy, for their, always pay back to society. No. Environmental practice, how they have taken care? First of all, they have implemented green building program where they want to achieve leadership in energy and environmental design. Slowly, gradually, they are converting their all owned buildings in green buildings. And it's not a one-day job, because whatever the construction I was carrying in my balance sheet in millions or billions of rupees, I cannot change the same in single day. It will take time. But now, whatever the strategy company is having, that strategy is saying that whatever change in buildings will come, the repair maintenance will come in building, or any new building will come in picture, it will be in form of green building. So this is something they are having as a target. Social aspect, I always mention, Tata is something on top in every report. We can find it like how they work. We always talk about gender equality, and when it's come to the gender equality, we talk about male and female ratio, right? Have you ever think that we should always, we should also talk about the other gender, transgenders? No. Tata, Aditya Birla, these, giants or companies, now they are thinking about transgenders as well. They are having targets that we want to keep transgenders also in mainstream. We will give them job. We will, provide them support to complete their education so that they can come on mainstream. Why at present they face hardship? Why at present they, behave like this? Because they are not getting good education. They are not getting the respect in society, which they should get as a normal human being. And they are not getting a job to earn. And that is the reason they behave the way that we see in regular uh, our day-to-day aspects. So these companies are now having a target like male female we have already achieved. We are giving an equal opportunity to all the male female whosoever wants to come to work. We are open for them. So now it's up to you. If Hina wants to work, she can come to our office, she can work. This is our work culture, this is our office, this is our policies. If anyone else, Arun, for example, wants to come, if he wants to, have everything, to work culture, so this is our policy. That is being achieved. Now we want to, keep transgenders also in a mainstream. We want to give them equal opportunity, and for them, first of all, we should educate them well enough so that they can come in a mainstream, they are able to get a good job. Once they are educated enough, then we will provide them job, because initially acceptance is required. Everyone will not accept that fact that some transgender is coming in our office and they are working with us as a normal person, because we are not used to that kind of environment. Once that uh, kind of environment is regularized, it's normal, then it will be a gender equality. So this is something you will find in their report as a social aspect. And the governance aspect, so kind of the high standards of corporate governance and ethics and compliance. For ethics and compliance, I think there is no need to explain the ethics of Tata's companies, how they follow, and what kind of the ethics. We all know that how much percentage of the wealth, how much percentage of their net worth, the Tatas already being donated for the different causes, for the different activities. So that governance, the good policies, the conduct, the discipline that they maintain in their office is something which is a good example of ESG strategy. So now we come on the next topic, which is a key consideration of how we should build a ESG strategy. See, as an internal auditor, every time when you are sitting with management, they ask you what's new is coming as a regulatory compliance. what kind of the threat you see in near future. So this is a kind of threat. You never know what is going to come in near future in terms of ESG compliance, how the other country's government is going to impact your business. For example, I have given you the European countries. Similarly, Middle East countries are also having their different norms. If I talk about US or UN nations, they are having a different norms. So that kind of the strategy, what exactly is happening in terms of ESG era, you should be aware about. So there are various drivers, there are various requirements. As an investor, what you see, as a regulator, what you see. Uh, there was one conference in Jaipur last week only on, I think, 15th or 16th, where we were having one panel discussion on this ESG topic, and one of the panelists was from SEBI, one official. And for my curiosity, I asked the question because I was the moderator for that session, that why what is going to be a future of this uh, ESG or era or something? How you find it? So he was very clear in terms of like, whenever I visit any particular country, being an Indian representative, our reporting, our strategy, the way we are now moving in terms of sustainability era, every country is appreciating our efforts. I think on November 15th, COP29, it's going to be started in Baku. So COP is a yearly sustainability conference. It's a long 12-day conference where every country representative, when I say the representative, it means the prime minister of country or the whosoever on an equivalent position for the country, they attend the conference and they provide a status of their country, what exactly is the update on ESG. So on November 15, our prime minister also will attend. Last year, we proposed that after 5 years, we want to host the COP in India. So this is how, because now our prime minister has the confidence that we are working fine in terms of industry update. And after 5 years, as a host country, we will be able to show some good updates to other countries in terms of sustainability aspects and, sustainability initiatives. So there are various drivers. If you ask me on point of view investors, so investors see like, if as an investor, would you like to lose your 2% or 3% profit in near future? Probably answer is no. No one like to lose it. But if you ask me as an investor, I am ready to accept my higher cost of equity for the business who is more sustainable. And reason being, I know initially the cost is higher to establish that kind of business because it requires a lots of resources, it requires a lots of research, it requires a more time to establish that kind of the unit. But that kind of the business is only sustainable for the longer period. In near future, this the way of government, what I can see, I know government will only promote the business who is more environmental friendly, who is more people friendly. Government will not promote the business who is not environmental friendly. As a person, just think about yourself. You are also now more emphasized. You are also now is being more what should I say? Uh, attracted to the products which you find it like it is an organic one, it is a natural one. So this is something, and we are ready to pay 100 rupees or 500 rupees or whatever the amounts more because of the feature like it is organic, it is natural or something like that. So this is a change now. As a consumer, as a customer is been coming, and investor is seeing that change, and that is the reason investor is investing in the business who is sustainable in nature, even though they are getting a less return, but they know it will sustain in near future. If I see a higher return in near future, but my you know consistency or my longevity is on doubt, so that will is not an interest of investor always. Okay. Regulatory and social aspect also, it's again a key consideration as a strategy, but we need to see what kind of the regulators update is coming or what kind of the social. As a people, the participants who are attending this webinar, just think about which particular company you want to work, where you have a friendly or good work culture environment, or where just you are getting a money. We all have seen past few examples, the kind of things that was flooded on various social media platforms. So now things are changing. Similarly, without ESG risk management, it is very difficult now to sustain in business. So that is something most important, like building an ESG strategy when you are thinking about business, or if you have established business, how to now think about a future strategy. Once you are done with your strategy, next important consideration is internal control. Here our roles come in picture as an internal auditor, because when your strategy has been designed, you know what exactly the changes you want to see in your business in terms of ESG. Accordingly, the process re-engineering will start. Kind of the process we all always have audited in past: purchase, sales, asset management, inventory management, HR management, or maybe entity level controls and other aspects. All these processes now needs re-engineering or reprocesses, because for example, vendor management, the process we all have audited in internal audit. Earlier, what was our intention when we were reviewing the master, like for vendor master, whether all important information is being captured before onboarding of any vendor or not, right? And when it's come to the important information, that means their KYC, their background, and other important details. We were not concerned about at all whether what kind of the manufacturing process that vendor is having or not. That we were not capturing in our vendor master. Now it is important, because for my BRSR report, I need to report how much percentage of my procurement is from sustainable supplier or sustainable sourcing supplier, and how much percentage of my sourcing is for non-sustainable sourcing partner, and how that I can do when my system is having a flag that these suppliers are sustainable suppliers and these suppliers are non-sustainable suppliers, and how it can be done when my vendor master control is having that column where every year you update based on certain audits or checks or controls that, okay, this particular vendor is meeting criteria, so it is a sustainable supplier or sustainable sourcing partner. This vendor is not meeting criteria, that means he is, or that vendor is not sustainable sourcing partner. So that change in controls, that change in process is now required. Similarly, whenever you are providing jobs, you are hiring any person. So employee master also we keep in our record. And when we are keeping our employee master, we were keeping their KYC and other important document as per the prescribed norm. Anytime, have you kept mention any column whether this job you provided a person from rural area, semi-rural, urban or urban area, semi-urban or urban area? Answer is no. Even if I talk about just now, I mentioned in 15 to 20 minutes back that I am from Jaipur city. I don't know from where Hina belongs to, or from where Rishu belongs to. So if I don't know, so how I can flag that how many people I have employed from rural areas or semi-urban areas or from urban areas, and that is my mandatory requirement for the purpose of BRSR report. So that kind of the change in process is now required. So that internal control, and whether the selection of that urban, semi-urban or rural is right or wrong, what is the base document on which we are considering that, what is the requirement of BRSR, how we need to see whether that particular, how I will decide whether the area is urban, semi-urban or rural. There are different definitions. So that SEBI has already given the guidance that you need to follow the definition of RBI norms. As per RBI, these are the cities which is being considered as rural, then semi-urban, and then urban. So that controls now we need to implement in company. And once the controls are being implemented, then the internal audit function will start on that part. So the next consideration comes as governance. So once you have, established the control system, you have revamped your all processes, the required adequate controls you have implemented, then accountability will be decided, actions will be decided, and assurance and advice function will be implemented. And these are the few important aspects. And it is not a 1 day or 1 month or a 2 month job. It will take time, because the example I have just given you, it's based on the BRSR report requirement, which is the Indian reporting requirement. If your company is the MNC, so then your ESG reporting requirement can be the different one. Then you also need to follow certain global reporting requirement as well with respect to ESG aspect. So accordingly, your system revamping will be done. So now as an internal auditor, think about how much bigger area is waiting for us in terms of opportunity, whether on a side, this side of table or that side of table. As a job also, you have a very good opportunities right now. As a practicing CA also, you have a very good opportunity in terms of internal audit function or internal control function, because this ESG aspect is a kind of aspect which is very new for every business, for every industry, and they need support. They need people who understand this and who can help them to implement the same in their business, because this is not a regulatory requirement very specifically, although there are certain regulatory aspects, but it is important for their business sustainability. It is important for their business longevity. Otherwise, they will not survive in near future without implementation of a ESG requirements. So now we are on a next session, which is internal audit's role in ESG reporting, how our roles come in picture. More or less, some part we have already discussed, but in more detail, if I talk about, so reporting accuracy and consistency is critical. Regulatory requirement I already discussed, like BRSR report, it present mandatory for top 1000 listed company. For them, reporting accuracy is mandatory. Personally, if you ask me, I have seen many reports. I have worked with many reports. If you ask me in terms of accuracy and consistency, it is not accurate. Actually, it is not consistent actually. Every year they are reporting anything, whatever comes in terms of, in front of them, because at present, no one is reviewing that. Or even if someone is reviewing, there is no action in terms of penalty or in terms of any negative impact. Once I had a discussion with regulator for this, so that they said, because it is a new requirement, we are just right now reviewing whatever the compliances is coming with us, and we are making it public, like these are the contradictory statement we have found in a various reporting, but we are not imposing any kind of the penalty or any kind of imprisonment. But in near future, yes, there will be penalties, there will be things. And the most funny statement is here, like in BRSR, there are various points, there are, various statements, which actually, as a company, we were following in past as well. In our internal audit reports, we are making a statement, yes, company is following this, company is following this, company is following this. Just an example, SA 8000, for every plant, it is mandatory to have a SA 8000 certificate. For SA 8000 certificate, it is mandatory to have a daycare facilities where my workers or employee strength is more than 50 people. So for that SA 8000, we always say that we have a daycare facility. Instead, irrespective if actually they are having or not. When it's come to the BRSR report and it's come to the daycare facility, they are saying we don't have a daycare facility. And on that BRSR report, when it's come to their strength, people strength, They are proudly mentioning that we are having 1,500 employees, we are having 14,000 workers. So how a company can say, like with 15,000 plus workers and 1,500 plus employees, I'm not having a daycare facility. It is a clear contradiction of labor law or any other specific factory law if you talk about. So that contradictory statement, because I have discussed all these points with the law firms as well. So they are on same point as well, that these contradictory statement will have a negative impact on them on a later stage. So as an internal auditor, here we can help them to make their report accurate and the consistency. Like what we reported previous year and what we are reporting current year. If it is not consistent, then what is the reason? That reasoning we can provide. Because otherwise, company will not understand what is the reason why we should provide that. But as an auditor, we can make them understand that if there is a material change, we need to provide reason why it has been changed. Again, one more example. Probably you will find me as a, goodwill ambassador of Tata's company. So yes, I'm a fan of Tata's company. Again, as a challenge, if you see what was their challenge as a Tata Steel, so it is a European Union practical case. So earlier it was, they were having a lack of unified approach across their various operations. They were not having a proper metrics where they can have a raised concern about data reliability, comparability. Whenever the investor meetings were happening, they were not able to give a responses for few questions, whatever the investors were raising. So how that process, they have overcome that part. So initial assessment was done where the audit team, internal audit team precisely, has undertakes a complete assessment on current reporting processes. A thorough interview of each and every department was done with terms of practices. What is the we tried to identify, kind of the team has tried to identify the discrepancies in data collection methods. That what exactly is the discrepancies in data collection processes. Then once that interview process has been done, structuring of MIS was done by the team. Unified framework, you can say, where a standardized framework like BRSR reporting framework is being given by SEBI. But for that, you should have a monthly reporting structure within your company. You should have a monthly MIS within your company for a specific metrics format for environment, social, and governance aspect. So that, any company can design. So team has designed that MIS format as per the company requirement, considering what kind of the reporting company is required to make as per the statutory requirements. Based on that format, once the format has been designed, then accordingly employees trainings has been done. All employees are made familiar with requirements, how formats needs to be, filled every month, how the data accuracy needs to be ensured, how the cross check needs to be done. And then continuous monitoring and improvement process was there, where quarterly internal audit team was reviewing the accuracy of the data which their employees are capturing in that MIS, wherever the discrepancies they were observing or they were finding. So that observations or findings were communication to that department was on timely basis. And at the year end, the report was more accurate. The report was having more consistent responses. So in terms of outcome, so if you see the report of this year, you will find it more reasonable report. You will find it more, unified framework where the transparency of data, accuracy, the assurance report also, which was considered by them because this time reasonable assurance was mandatory for them. So that was the requirement. And apart from that, they have also taken limited assurance for other topics. And the long-term impact is they are still manufacturing. CBAM guidelines are now applicable from October 2023. And because India is the leading exporter of steel, now they are able to file their CBAM return on timely basis because they are having the regular data capturing in their MIS. In India, there are very few players who are able to file their CBAM returns on timely basis with European portal, and Tata Steel is one of them. Although Tata Steel is having a very big team, very big setup and everything, but considering the requirement, considering the new things, it is a kind of achievement that they are able to do that, and their export is not hampering because of this requirement. One important aspect is here assurance. So obviously for external assurance, as I mentioned, internal assurance will be always required first. Without internal audit, external assurance will not be able to provide assurance report. And for BRSR in India, reasonable assurance has been introduced. It is not a limited assurance. In reasonable assurance, there are more responsibility on the external assurance provider. And for that more responsibility, that assurance provider team always need internal audit team support, regular review of controls, accuracy, transparency, and adequacy of control. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for them to provide a clean opinion for the data, and it will be kind of disclaimer of opinion, because for qualified opinion also you need data, and then you make a qualified opinion that this is company is reporting, this is as per our calculation, and this is the difference. But for that you need two data. But if company is not having data, then you provide a disclaimer of opinion. So for external assurance, and that too for reasonable assurance, internal assurance is must. Advisory before implementation of internal assurance, internal audit, advisory role come in a picture where you can help companies to build ESG control environment based on COSO internal controls integrated framework. You can help them to make a control metrics. You can help them to implement the controls. You can recommend them the reporting metrics. You can help them to design. For normal internal audits, there are various formats, there are various risk control metrics, RCM, that we generally prepare. But for non-financial reporting, at present, no one is having any format. Everything we need to prepare by own. So you always have more opportunities because everything you are preparing from scratch. And when you are preparing from scratch, then you always charge a markup or a premium. And advise on ESG governance. So you always work with top management very closely. So like risk assessment and management, this is the one where first of all you identify what are the regulatory compliances, what are the reputational risks, and then operational risks are there, because in ESG, reputational risks are more than any financial risk or an operational risk. So like this is again one of the example of Mahindra Group, where it is, we all know, MNC and diversified multinational sustainability part, if you see. So how they are posting about their risk assessment process. So just whenever you have time, today, tomorrow, or maybe day after tomorrow, see their annual report and see how they are mentioning about their key risk, ESG risk, environmental risk, social risk, and governance risk. Few extract I have posted here, which will help you to understand and just understand how these are being reported. If I talk about environmental risk, so carbon emission, waste management are the on top most priority. Social risk, so labor practices, community relations, governance risk, so data privacy, which is the new law now in India, regulatory compliances. Then when you prioritize, so high impact, high likelihood, high impact, low likelihood, accordingly you make a prioritization. Developing mitigation strategies. So for carbon emission, this is the one, again, a prominent area where many times companies require a support from your side, and they want you to create a carbon strategy for the company. So, or, how company can be more energy efficient, can implement more energy efficient technologies. As an internal auditor, we work more with industry support system, with industry solutions rather than with numbers. So we generally being considered a industry expert, and accordingly you can make your expertise. Like I mostly worked with, in terms of internal audit, textile industry. So for textile industry, I am very much comfortable to suggest them any kind of industry solutions when it's come to ESG area as well. So that is something, uh, as a risk advisory, you can choose and you can accordingly respond. Then last, reporting, monitoring, and accordingly, just I mentioned about what was the outcome and a long-term impact of risk assessment processes. Uh, the second important aspect in terms of role of internal audit is evaluating ESG controls and the processes. So when you are working in capacity of internal auditor, so you evaluate the existing controls, existing processes with respect to data integrity, accuracy, then policy adherence and monitoring mechanism. And then accordingly, you suggest companies if there is any new controls required to be in place, if there is any data leakages or somewhere accuracy is, there is no accuracy on data. So that you can suggest that how accuracy can be achieved, policy adherence if has not been followed by any of employee, so how it can be overcome, or what can be the monitoring mechanism that companies can follow. Performance evaluation and reporting. Once your KPIs and everything are there, then benchmarking with peer group can be done. Stakeholders reporting can be done. Audit trails again, because once you have everything in place, controls are there, process revamping has been done, process re-engineering have been done, then trails can be maintained, documentation can be maintained, and then evaluation can be done. Or internal controls, just ask yourself as well as a question, how a better internal control or a better culture we generally have in company, better environment we have in a company when you promote a culture of awareness, general awareness. And I think you have experienced on various places wherever the employees are having a good awareness system, the company is working very fine, and wherever there is a lack of awareness, people are not aware about their KPI, job responsibilities, what is happening around, then companies are generally being bound to make mistakes, because ultimately who is running your company, who is running business? Your people. So awareness is the most important aspect in ESG as well as in internal audit. The purpose of internal audit is always not to find out the mistakes of people. It is about to provide a solution and to make them understand that how they can, update the process, and how we can make a process oriented organization rather than people oriented organization, and how we can make a process oriented organization. So generally what we do now these days, the heavy dependency on IT system is being there. But apart from that, what generally we do for, people updates, for people awareness, we impart training and education. We make a collaboration with various departments, integrate the finance, HR operations, and we encourage them to have a mindset of continuous improvement. Once your organization is having that kind of mindset, that whosoever is coming in my organization and sitting on that side of table, that person is not a kind of internal auditor who is trying to find out mistake in me. He is trying to find out mistake in process. Then your organization is on right path. So that mindset change is most important in terms of ESG awareness as well. Because in ESG awareness, there will be a lot observations, there will be a lot mistakes you will find in organization. And in that case, you need to make them understand that it is not your mistake, it is not people mistake, It is a process mistake, because process is not that kind of used to where process, do that compliance. It is a new requirement. That is the reason process is not responding that. So accordingly, people will support you and your organization will support you to have a ESG awareness. And the last one is here, engaging with stakeholders. This ESG part is not only about your organization, it is also about your value chain system, your supply chain. As I've given you a previous example of supply chain management, vendor management. So now government thrust is you should do business only with the people who are sustainable. Otherwise, you don't do the business with them. So now think about Reliance, or let's forget about Reliance first off. Think about Hindustan Unilever Limited. That is the FMCG company. For FMCG, think about their supply chain. In their supply chain, there are in number of small organizations who are supplying small item to them. And that small organization is not having that kind of the ESG compliances in place. So how we can engage them with that organization, we can make them understand why it is important, and we can implement the system in their organization is also a role of internal auditor. Similarly, investor point of view and regulator requirement. These two also we need to ensure. So just to end today's discussion before starting with questions. So, just a minute.
You are muted, Harsha.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Just to end with the discussion, if I talk about role of internal audit in strengthening the ESG compliances, which is now more crucial than ever, because for external auditors, like I mentioned, it is important to have an internal audit in place. So as an internal auditors, you can always support the organization to have a good internal control system in place. You can always work with their, as a support system to advance their sustainability and ethical goal. Initially, if you remember, I also mentioned about like companies are also now using their sustainability initiatives and ethical goals for their green marketing. And that is completely permittable as per laws and regulation. There is no as such restriction that your sustainability initiatives and ethical goals you cannot market. We generally call it as a green marketing. So just do it that, but always make sure that whatever your sustainability initiatives or ethical goals you are using for the purpose of green marketing, it should be in place on actual basis. It should not be a case of greenwashing. So two type of terms generally we use. One is green marketing, where you actually do something and then you make public that this is something we are following. And then there is a term where you are not following certain things actually, but you are making it public that this is something we are following. So this is one aspect that we need to make sure, where we identify risk as well, we evaluate the controls, we make sure that our reports are accurate, Once when you are evaluating your controls, you see whether that are adequate or not. If they are not adequate, then you make more new controls in place. Further, as an internal auditor, you also foster a culture of awareness and accountability. So in last slide, I think we were discussing about where we always mention, like as an internal auditor, we always say, like we are not auditing people, we are auditing process. And if we are, giving our observations, giving our reports, so it is about process, it is not about people. So this is something we need to make sure when you are preparing your reports, when you are preparing your control matrices. And last one is here about your internal audit functions, which is including the ESG initiatives. So when it's come to ESG initiatives, so ESG initiative list is long. And it is not necessarily that every type of ESG initiative, every type of ESG aspect is important or relevant for your industry or for your company. As an internal auditor, we need to find out, we need to see which particular segment is important or relevant for me, or which particular segment is not relevant or not important for me, and accordingly risk mapping, risk criteria, risk, everything we need to do so that robust internal audit function we can make in place for the ESG area as well. So that was from my side in terms of internal controls and ESG part. I tried to make it, a small and interactive one. And now I am open for queries. And at the same time, if there is any feedback for me, so I'm open for that.
So, Harsha ma'am, thank you so much for a wonderful session. Yeah, so we are talking about ESG, we are talking about sustainability, we are talking about green buildings, which is something very different from unlike the internal control audits, which we were doing earlier, which were more to do with accounting, stock, and other things. So this is a new emerging area, definitely for the chartered accountants, and it is a new area. So we can set ourselves here. We can, and as this is a evolving area, and as you rightly said out that when this is new, you can evolve your own standards, and it could be a lucrative section as well. And yes, so we heard a lot about Tata, and definitely their ethics and governance is something that everybody admire. We spoke about Mahindra, and I was wondering, we were talking about green buildings, we were talking about male to female ratio, we were talking about what is a manpower mix, like how many of the people are working from urban sector, how many of them are from the rural sector. Then we also spoke about daycare facilities, and so many things. The green building concept was something which was new. Yeah. So that was wonderful on our part. And I can see, only two questions from the audience. One is from Vinay Poddar. And Vinay Poddar had said, he needs more guidance on starting the career in ECG sector. Yeah. And the other one is Manoj Kumar Purohit, who has not asked a question, but he has appreciated you on your, the lecture delivery. He had said hello to you as well. So basically,
Okay.
there's only one question: needs a guidance to start the career in ECG.
So first of all, whenever I deliver my any session or workshop on ESG, and many time people, because for them it's a very new term
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
being easily exchanged by ECG. So yes, it's
Hmm.
not ECG, it's ESG,
Yeah,
environmental, but
yeah, yeah.
it's important for our ECG because
Yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely. Yeah,
otherwise our
yeah.
ECG will not come in a kind of, mode we.
Yeah.
So if you want to start your career or if you want to build your career in ESG, just start reading about more and more about this domain. The problem statement is here, like as an internal auditor, we always first think about problem statement, then we go to the solution. Till now, what I understand as a chartered accountant, we are not even searching about what new is coming in sustainability domain, where our CA institute, what kind of the publications are coming, what kind of the new standards are coming, and that is the reason we are not updated about the same. So just put the keywords in your search bar whenever you have time about sustainability standards, about new news or updates about sustainability, and then it will start coming on your wall. Like LinkedIn, we all scroll, but till now, we have not even sometimes used hashtag sustainability, hashtag ESG. So that type of news we are not able to see on our wall. If you start searching on that part, you will find a lot things about what exactly is happening on ESG or sustainability. When you see different companies, like we always follow the company's page, whatever companies you like. So, or maybe your companies, the listed companies where you work. So see what they are doing for sustainability. We generally, what we do, we scroll it up. We do not, make it, अभी तक interest नहीं आया उसमें. तो उसको पढ़ना start करेंगे, so it will, we start gaining interest, we start gaining more understanding. Institute already has issued a lot material on BRSR and ESG. There are certificate courses. Internal Audit Board also working on various aspects of ESG and internal controls. So that things we can start reading and understanding. When it's come to the annual report, most important part. Earlier, before 2020, annual report were only having BRR report in terms of non-financial information, that too only 20-25 pages. So out of 300 pages, 20-25 pages, we were unaware what exactly it is. But now, if you see any company internal audit report, at least out of 400 pages, 200 pages are speaking about sustainability. Even many companies are having theme about sustainability. This year, if you see annual reports of companies, they are having theme of sustainability. Their annual report is published on sustainability, that what we are doing in sustainability, how we are taking care of environment, how we are taking care of our employees, these type of things. So when you see the annual reports, try to, flip out the pages of sustainability report, their BRSR report, similar like we do for their financial statement. So just to read out their non-financial statement as well. Principles are there. So just read out that principles, that will help you to start understanding the subject.
Yeah, I hope Vinay is clear with that. And we have one more request from Nitin, who had asked us to share the PDF file, which is presented here. Is that possible over mail or over any drive link?
So I will share the same with the coordinators, the internal audit, and probably they can share with, I think, all the participants, because I don't know how they will be able to see it.
Yeah. I think that's good. Yeah, no? That can be done. Yeah. So thank you so much, Harsha, for a wonderful session.
Ma'am,
And
can
it
you
was
share
nice.
your contact details slide once again?
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
So thank you
And
so
then-
much, everyone.
Yeah, and then lastly, the Nitin has asked one more thing. Do we need to enroll for any course or some certification for this role in the industry? How any company will hire based on the theoretical knowledge about this segment for an experienced role?
Actually, this domain is very new, so every person is coming with theoretical knowledge only. Or if you ask me my experience in this domain, so it's only 4-year experience, because I started very early in 2020. Today we are sitting in 2024. So the maximum experience you will find in this domain is 4 years or maybe 5 years, not more than that. And it is more gaining momentum from last year only. So hardly 1 or 2 year experienced people you will find. CA Institute also having one certificate course of BRSR that will give you good understanding about the subject. I think that is a good start to understand the subject. In that certificate also, we have a very good session of internal audit with respect to ESG. And if you ask me industry expectation, genuinely industry is having a very, they want many people for this ESG department and everything. And their expectation is from CA fraternity only, because what they understand that CA people are very good with numbers, CA people are very good with controls, and CA people are very good with business strategy. So it's not hard for us to understand this domain as well. So we are being in a preferred list of them. Although they understand this is a new subject for us, but we are in preferred list because we understand the business very closely. So just don't think about anything. Put your profile whenever you see any vacancy in any industry or any company with respect to ESG domain, and have discussion with company, because maximum experience for any person, even I am regularly taking sessions for the certificate course of ICI. All companies, CFO, independent directors are now attending the course. They are also trying to understand the subject. So there will be no question in terms of experience. Everyone is asking for the people who are interested in subject.
Yeah, so I feel, here the interest is more important. Here, it is not quantitative, it is more about quality.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
for new
So
chartered accountants, I always say for them it is a very lucrative field, because after 5 years, which particular field is going to give you a more and more remuneration or monetary benefit. So this is the kind of field, because you are going to value add to the company.
that's correct. That's correct.
Right.
Yeah. So with this, we end our session. Yeah. Thank you, Harsha ma'am.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
wishing everybody a very happy Diwali. Yeah. So
Happy
great.
Diwali, Rishu ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. So we can end the session now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
from
yeah.
my side, thank you so much, everyone. And I think queries also I have tried to respond. If there is no query, I think we can end the session.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
everyone. Happy
Bye bye.
Diwali.
Happy
Bye.
Diwali. Bye.